Hi, I'm Belle with the Cruise and Travel Store, and I am so privileged today to be sitting with Deanne from GoInsurance. Hi, Deanne.
Hey, hi, thanks so much for having me.
You are very welcome. So, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background in the travel industry?
Yeah, more than happy to. So my name is Deanne, and I've been working in the travel industry now for close to 15 years, and all
Wow.
of that has actually been in travel insurance. So if you've got a travel insurance question, I'm your girl. And yeah, I've been loving it. I've been working in the head office of travel insurance companies and as well out on the road with agents and with the public, talking everything insurance.
Wonderful. So how's the Australian insurance market evolved in recent years? We talk about pre-COVID, post-COVID, and we talk about, the recent changes in travel insurance, especially within Australia. I think that's evolved in the last 12 months. Tell us a bit about that evolution as far as travel insurance goes.
Yeah, most definitely. It really has evolved, and I think travel insurance companies have really stepped up with their coverage. They know what customers need. But yeah, ever since the pandemic, I think customers are also realising the importance of it and just how necessary it really is to take out.
And, working on the ground in our new agency, it's something that people are now talking about every day, not just the travel agents banging on about it to the customer. It's the customers coming in and starting that conversation. So for us as agents, that's a really exciting thing, because I think a lot of people had that stigma that they thought they didn't need travel insurance. But travel insurance is a necessity when it comes to travel.
You're exactly right. And I think majority of people do take out travel insurance these days, and I think it's so important they take it out with an agent, so you can help guide them and educate them and make sure that they do get the right coverage when they do travel.
Why is travel insurance particularly important for Australian travellers?
It's so important. You never know what's going to happen on your journey, and like any insurance, house insurance, car insurance, you hope it's not going to happen to you, and touch wood it doesn't, but if it does, you need to make sure you have that right coverage there and that you are protected and that you're protecting yourself and that you're protecting your investment. We're traveling far and wide these days off the beaten track, so you need to make sure that you got yourself protected when you are in those remote locations.
And that leads me to ask the next question, which is, what are the core things that good travel insurance policy should cover?
Yeah, really.
We talk about investing
question.
in ourselves and our bodies, and I think we're healthier than ever, and we're in that generation of people that are looking after their health and their wealth and things like that.
100%.
But what are the core things that is required for a good insurance policy? Because there's so many different.
There's so many different ones out there, and I mean, they might all offer medical coverage, but making sure that that's unlimited medical coverage. And a lot of people do think about their medical and their well-being whilst traveling, but also really important is that cancellation protection before you go. We get quite a number of claims prior to travel because people are booking far out in advance, and you've got all that lead time that you need to protect yourself before you go. But most importantly is your 24-hour emergency assistance. At Go, we have an amazing 24-hour emergency assistance team to help you no matter where you are in the world with what goes wrong, be it medical emergencies, you lose your passport, there's a natural disaster, having that help and support through our team.
And I had to call recently on one of my trips because I actually was sick before I was due to get on a cruise, and I had to deal with the medical assistance team after that and the claims team and stuff like that. And just having that assurance that you're here in Australia, it really made me feel important. I think when it comes to travel insurance as a consumer, we want to feel important.
Yeah, and you never know what's going to happen. It's like in that time of need, you're worried, you're stressed, you're not sure what to do, where to go. It's just that quick and easy phone call straight through to our team to get that help and support and familiar voice when it's a stressful situation.
Things go wrong, and things do go wrong. I've been an agent for 25 years now, and I've seen the worst of the worst. I've been through tsunamis and, having to airlift clients off ships and stuff like that. Cancellation before. We talk about those core things that are really important to travellers when it comes to travelling and having that insurance.
Yeah, that help and support in your time of need, most definitely.
Yeah, I think it's that's the biggest thing, that 24/7 assistance. How does coverage differ from domestic travel to international?
Great question. Yeah,
Especially cruising. So a lot of people
Yes.
have this perception that for cruising, Australian waters, you don't need travel insurance.
Yeah. It's a very misconception, but it's still just as important, whether it be domestic travel, domestic cruising, or international travel. So, domestic versus international, people think I don't need it domestically because I have Medicare. But like I was saying before, that cancellation before you go, you look at protecting your investment and how much money you're spending on that domestic trip. If something was to happen, touch wood, it doesn't, but if it does, you're protecting that cancellation before you go with domestic travel, as well as when you're traveling. You know, your suitcase could get lost, stolen, or damaged. You could be hiring a car. We'll extend to cover that excess on the hire car. And all of that plus your medical when you are international travel. Domestic cruising is really important for your travel insurance.
Yes.
Reason being, as soon as you leave that Australian port and you're on that cruise ship, the cruise ships are international cruise ships and they've got international doctors. So you cannot use Medicare.
The medical centre on board is international, and the last time I cruised, I had to get the seasick needle, and that was $500 for that needle.
There you go.
That is definitely not covered by Medicare. So once you do step on that ship, you are in international waters and you are not covered by Medicare. That's a huge misconception that so many people...
International charges.
Yes.
And not only that, you know, if the worst does happen, and I'm sure you've seen it and heard it, a lot of cruises having to be airlifted from that cruise ship is not cheap. So
we had one recently,
shore,
$75,000. I can tell you firsthand, $75,000 for the Coast Guard to come and pluck you off the ship and take you back to...
And you could just be off, you know, an Australian port. We never would have thought such a high cost claim so close to home.
Yeah, I guess it's that. Are there differences in policies depending on whether someone is travelling for leisure, business, adventure?
Yeah. And I think that's the beauty of using an agent, is that you can help to tailor make that insurance policy to suit your traveller. They can have a comprehensive plan, or with our Go policy, you can take benefits off the policy and tailor make it to exactly what you're doing, and you know, you can help tailor make that for your customers. We have awesome extras that you can add on to the leisure insurance policy, so to tailor make it for the business traveller and their business equipment, if they need alternative staff to help complete a task overseas. And as well for adventure, we cover over 74 activities on our policies for free, which is great. But anything, you know, really obscure or off the beaten track, we can either add it on or call us and we can look to add it on where possible.
I think that's one of the, going back a few steps, I think that's one of the biggest evolutions of travel insurance in the last 18 months to 2 years that I've seen, is those add-ons, those extras that you can tailor make to the client. And I think...
So things like skiing and snowboarding.
Or something as simple as protecting your laptop. If you're a business traveller and you have a $5,000 MacBook, you want that covered, right? And a lot of those policies, you really have to dig deep into the PDS to check what is included and what the levels are. And I think that's the biggest thing when we get customers coming in asking us the difference of travel insurance is, you know, what's covered. Because online there's so many different, you know, if you Google travel insurance, there's probably over 100 different suppliers and insurers and stuff like that, and it can be confusing. So I guess for us, the biggest thing is those customers coming in the door, and we can tailor make that policy to suit them, take things out and add on those really important things. Like a lot of insurers don't cover cruise straight off the bat. That is an optional extra that needs to be added to the policy. I think I have seen that, clients walking in and asking about those, you know, showing us insurers' policies, and we ask them where they're traveling to. I'm going on a cruise. Do you take out cruise cover? No. So it's really important that you do speak to an expert when it comes to travel insurance.
100%. And the great thing, like with cruising being so unbelievably popular with Aussies at the moment, is that you can add it on to our GoInsurance policy, and it'll only ever add between like $15 and $35 to add that on, and you get 5 extra benefits that come with that to give you that specific cruise cover, and also covering you for activities on board the ship and off the ship too. So things like your Arctic cruising, hopping off the cruise ship onto the snow. We cover a whole heap of different activities on ice that some of your other insurers may not. So yeah, it's important.
And that's something people wouldn't think about. They're just so excited about booking their Antarctica cruise that they would just assume that this is included and covered. So you really have to nail down and you have to deep dive into your insurance, like we do with car, like we do with health, like we do with our home insurance policies. You really have to read the PDS to ensure that it suits all of your needs and covers.
Exactly right. I think it's great. They've got, advisors like yourself and your team around to help with that deep dive, because it can be a bit scary at times.
Daunting. Daunting. Share some real life stories where travel insurance saves the day. I love these. I mean, I've seen so many of them in 25 years of being in travel. But tell us some,
Me too. I've had
some stories where you guys have saved the day.
Yes, and we always hope that it doesn't happen, but like insurance, you're glad that you got it if you do need it. So, I think one that really sticks with me is probably one of the largest claims that Go's ever had to date, and it was a poor lady who slipped by a pool and hit her head badly and suffered some really bad brain injuries.
Wow.
And that was over in Vietnam. At the time, the hospital that we took her to, or that she was taken to, wasn't able to help her with those horrible injuries and these really serious life-threatening injuries. So we instantly airlifted her and medically evac'd her to a great hospital in Bangkok that we know of, to make sure that she had the life-saving treatment that she needed. And from there, after having that life-saving treatment that she needed, we then airlifted her and her partner back to Australia.
Wow.
So that claim came to over $300,000. So yeah.
Wow, that gave me goosebumps. Yeah,
I've got a spare $300,000 lying around. Or mortgage the house.
No, and I mean, you see those GoFundMes every day, and I just cringe, because I know that with the right insurance and ensuring that you are covered for those things is so important, and that highlights that. I don't think anyone has, Elon Musk has, that amount of money in his bank, but the normal Australian does not have $300,000, $100,000, even $100,000.
No.
I know you've had many of those claims, $50,000, $20,000, $10,000. Cancellation, is a huge one as well, I guess, when it comes to, the likability of having to claim on your policy. I guess cancellation would be high on the list as well as medical.
So with our the stats, they're roughly like 30% of all of our claims that might be medical overseas, but close to 25% of them are cancellation prior to travel.
Wow.
So we always want to make sure that you've protected that investment as soon as possible prior to travel, because there's got all that lead time of things that could potentially happen to you before you go.
And ensuring that the total cost of the holiday is covered, because a lot of policies will only cover for certain amounts, $5,000, $10,000. If you have a $50,000 holiday, you need $50,000 worth of cover in case you have to cancel the day before or the day of travel.
So for some of those, if you do have to cancel due to that unforeseen event before you go, a lot of those wholesalers, airlines, cruise lines that you book with, their component or that cost is non-refundable. So part of the trip may be non-refundable up to a certain time before you go. So that therefore means if you were to cancel, you won't get that money back. So to have that ability to claim under your insurance is really important.
Are there common mistakes people make that result in denied claims?
Sometimes there can be. I think it's just really important that when you're taking out the travel insurance, you dot your I's, you cross your T's, you read the policy wording, or you speak with one of your expert advisors like yourself and your team. A lot of people also forget about pre-existing medical conditions. Pre-existing medical conditions can impact your policy, because if you do have a medical condition that could potentially impact you before you go, so like we were talking about cancellation, but it could also, something may arise from it whilst you're travelling, and so you want to make sure that that those conditions are disclosed and added to your policy. And you know, with our policies, you have a really easy process to be able to add those.
It's so
onto the
easy.
policy.
It really is.
Yeah.
From a travel advisor perspective, it's very easy. And if it's a little more complicated, we do get the guests to call your medical team to talk them through it. And the process is so easy, and the feedback we get, it's so easy.
Yeah.
A lot of people have a misconception that, oh, if I tell them I have a pre-existing, my insurance is going to double or triple.
Yeah.
A lot of the common things are covered, but it's that disclosure. That's the most important part of it.
Yeah, and you can help guide them through that.
Yeah.
And then we can also, customers can do it in the privacy of their own home too.
Yeah.
You know, you can send the quote through to them and they can do that assessment at home, just to make sure they've told us about everything, add that onto the policy. Might only be a slightly extra premium. Once again, that is at the discretion, but it's not huge amounts. And like you said, they can also call through to our customer service team and talk it through.
That's one of our biggest tips. Disclose. Pre-existing medical conditions is a big thing for us, you know.
Yeah.
When is the best time to purchase travel insurance?
Yeah.
This is a question we get a lot.
Yes.
It's a question we get a lot from clients. When should I buy my travel insurance?
Yeah, great question. I like to say as soon as you put money down on your trip or put that deposit down, that's when you want to start thinking about it and potentially taking out your travel insurance. The sooner you do it, the better it is, because like what we were chatting about before, it's protecting that investment and protecting that money that you put down before you go. So.
When clients ask me that question, I say, if you buy a car, when do you get the insurance?
Perfect, love that.
When I buy my car.
Exactly
okay,
right.
So would you buy your car and then a month later get travel, insurance?
Okay, insurance? No. Exactly right.
You do it
love
at
that.
the time.
Yes, 100%.
For annual and multi-trip policies, are they worth it for the frequent traveller?
Yeah. So we not only have single trips, but the annual multi-trip, awesome policy, protects as many trips as you like within that year. It works out really good value if you are a frequent traveller. So usually if you have a couple of international trips, the annual multi-trip works out perfect. With our yearly policy, you can choose 30, 50 or 60 days per trip, and we also throw in the extra snow sports coverage on the annual multi-trip too, so you're not having to pay a whole heap for that. That's included, which is great.
And if I travel domestically on that policy, am I still covered? Like if I go to cheeky girls weekend away in Queensland or something like that, or down to the Barossa for some wine.
Got to factor those in.
They're all covered?
Yeah. So with our annual multi-trip policies, it extends to all your domestic and all your international. So with your domestic, as long as you've got at least one night away, more than 150 kilometres from home, that's also included. 150
k's, that's good to know.
Yeah.
What should people look for in the fine print when it comes to the PDS and travel insurance?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much. I mean, we always say read it, make sure it's right for you. Check that you do have the right amount of cancellation coverage to protect your investment. When in doubt, speak with your expert advisor or call through to our customer service team. Yeah. There are an excess on a policy, so you can choose like a $0, $100, $200 and $300 excess on your insurance policy. A lot of other companies out there can have quite a large excess. That's important to look for. So if you need to make a claim, you're not going to lose too much. Making sure that you have the right cruise cover or you have the right motorcycle and moped cover, because it's those little things that could get tripped up. If you are going to be doing those activities, and your pre-existing medical. So just making sure that you check if you've disclosed all your pre-existing medical conditions on the policy as well.
It's great advice. How does travel insurance from a bank or a credit card differ to a standalone dedicated policy, do you think?
Yeah. Well, I mean, number one, without a travel agent, you're on your own, right? So if they're getting it through yourselves and through us, they know that they've got that help and support through you guys who are our authorised representatives that also understand the product and that can help with insurance claims as well. There can be some absolutely awesome products out there and some very, very, very limited products. So once again, it's just a matter of checking, making sure that you have that right cover for cancellation and pre-existing medical conditions again. But also as well, some of the online or bank insurances, you want to check that you've got that 24-hour emergency assistance team to help you if something was to go wrong. You also need to make sure that you've activated it. Some of them do have a special activation requirement. So if you don't have the write spend on your credit card, or if you don't call your bank, you may not actually be activating your insurance correctly.
Yeah.
They can also have limitations with who they cover. So that credit card may cover you, but it may not cover your partner or your children.
Family travelling with you, etc.
Exactly right. Yeah.
And what do you think situations you'd not rely on a credit card insurance?
Oh, I think once again, like there's a lot of us that are traveling off the beaten track. So if you're in a really, really remote location, do they have that 24-hour emergency assistance team to help you if something was to go wrong? Like, I wouldn't want to be in a country where I couldn't speak the local language and something happened and you needed that help and support and you didn't know where to go or what to do. Whereas some insurers may reimburse you, are they going to be able to help take you to that great hospital or get you the care that you need or that help and support if something was to go wrong? And similarly, things like activities, cruise cover, if you're doing
moped
extra
cover,
things.
moped.
Yes,
hot on everybody's
moped,
list.
Or Mario karting around Tokyo.
Yeah, that's a big
like
thing that's happening at the moment. Japan is huge for us, and that Mario karting. Yeah, so things like that, ensuring those little activities are included, because that's not typically things that people would think of. Rock climbing on, the Royal Caribbean ships, wave riders and stuff like that, the I-Fly, those sort of things you need to ensure that you have coverage for those things. And that's not something typically that people think about. They just think, oh, I booked my cruise and that's all I have to do. And I can rely on XXX insurance to cover me. Again, it comes down to the PDS and it comes down to ensuring the cover is right for you.
Extras, 100%. Yeah.
Okay, next question. How do government services like Smart Traveller play into insurance?
Yeah, if you were to ever jump on to the Smart Traveller website, they would always recommend that travellers take out comprehensive travel insurance all the time. So in saying that, therefore, make sure you get yourself a comprehensive policy that's going to look after you. On Smart Traveller as well, it also highlights, destinations that you might be travelling to that are high risk. So you also want to make sure that your travel insurance policy is going to cover you to those high risk destinations. If somewhere's reconsider your need to travel on Smart Traveller or do not travel, you need to make sure that your travel insurance is going to protect you, because they do follow a lot of those rules that Smart Traveller have in place.
Yeah, and that's as easy as calling the insurance or your dedicated travel advisor to ensure that it is covered.
Yeah.
Does Medicare cover you at all while you're traveling overseas? We get this question a lot. I'm only going to New Zealand to see my family for the weekend. I'm only going to Fiji for a conference. So typically Medicare is only whilst you're in Australia. There are a couple of countries throughout the world that do have what they call a reciprocal healthcare agreement, which would be able to look after some of your medical expenses. You still need to double check that and check into that. But once again, insurance isn't just around your medical only. You still need to factor in your cancellation, all of your luggage that you're taking with you. If anything was to happen to that, things can get lost or stolen, damaged. Are you hiring a car? We can protect your excess. Or natural disasters, bad weather, travel delays. So there's a multitude of other benefits in the policy that you can still claim under. And which I think a lot of people forget about. They just hone in on that medical cover, but what else is covered? Just tipping back to pre-existing conditions, how are they handled by GoInsurance, for instance? So if I got a quote and I was looking at getting a policy and I had pre-existing medical conditions, what would be the procedure for me to disclose that information?
So you can check in our PDS or on our website what the actual definition of a pre-existing medical condition is. From there, we also have a whole page of medical conditions that are automatically covered for free if you fit that criteria in the PDS. Outside of that, it's a really simple process of either disclosing those conditions online, and that can either be done with the advisor or we can send you a quote and you can do that medical assessment online at home by simply just popping in that medical condition, answering all the multiple choice questionnaires, and then it will spit out if you're covered or not covered and if there will be an additional premium or not. And once again, that's at your discretion.
Sounds easy.
So we try to make it as easy as we possibly can. So be honest, let us know about all your conditions so you can make sure that you can have that ultimate peace of mind when you travel.
That's what everyone wants, right? That peace of
exactly
mind. Cruise cover. Cruising's a big market for us, and about 60% of our clientele at the moment are cruisers.
Yeah.
Is cruise travel covered by default on insurance policies?
Yeah, so under our GoInsurance policy, it's not. So the great thing about Go is that you can actually tailor make the policy. It's a bespoke plan where you can actually add and subtract the benefits to suit you and to suit your itinerary. So if you're not cruising, it's not included. But if you are, to add it on, it's a really simple tick a box and it'll add that coverage on for you. You'll never pay more than $35 per person to get all those extra cruise benefits.
And that covers ocean cruising and river cruising, expedition cruising,
all of those cruises.
Cruising,
yeah. Especially expedition, you need to make sure that that's covered.
It's a little bit more adventurous.
Locations, yes. Once again, a medical airlift from Antarctica is not not exactly
that
cheap.
would be very expensive.
No, exactly right.
Touch wood, no one here ever needs to do that. What are some common misconceptions about cruise cover?
I think that you jump on the cruise ship, you relax, what could possibly go wrong? But I think people don't realise just how expensive to be helicoptered off a cruise ship could possibly be.
$75,000, I can tell you.
Exactly right.
Even just being treated in the medical centre for a seasick needle,
the fact that you can
consultation,
Yeah, not cheap. And I think a lot of people think, especially with domestic cruising, that it's domestic, you don't need it. But once again, there's international cruise ships, international doctors, they're expensive.
Yes.
To be that airlift. It also extends to cover things like, your cabin confinement. So, touch wood, you don't get gastro, but if the doctor, says stay in your room, don't leave, you'll have that per day amount that will reimburse you if you are actually cabin confined.
Okay.
Or if you miss out on a port, if you miss visiting a port due to bad weather, or if the cruise ship doesn't get to go there, we'll reimburse you for each port that you miss out on. So there's some great, really tailor-made benefits there for cruising.
That's great, and that's something that can happen. It does happen. People think that missed ports don't happen, but they do. Weather conditions, if someone needs to be airlifted off and they have to deviate, there will be, missed ports.
Yeah, no, exactly right. And like you said before, all these extra activities on board and
the extra adventure activities.
Yeah, exactly right.
So talking about adventure travel and high risk travel, adventure activities like scuba diving, skiing, hiking, all those need the additional coverage, right?
Yeah, a lot of them. So we can cover a lot for free. So you can check the PDS to see one of the many activities that we cover. So it's really easy just to check. We've got a whole list of all the activities that are automatically included.
Yeah.
If your activity is not listed there, simply just give us a quick call and we can see if we can add that on for you. But it's pretty comprehensive.
How do policies handle extreme sports and remote travel destinations?
You do need to check it because there's a lot of policies out there that may not cover those extreme sports. And if you are in a remote location, that's a double whammy. So if something was to go wrong, you want to make sure you got that help and support, not only with where to go and what to do, but financially as well. Check the PDS, check with your advisor. If not, give us a quick call and we can make sure that you have that right cover. Yeah.
Excellent. What sets GoInsurance apart from the other providers in the Australian market, do you think?
So GoInsurance, we've been around for over 14 years now. We are 100% Australian owned and based. So if you do need to call our customer service or speak with claims, you know that you got that help and support just outside of Brisbane in Queensland, which is great. So really, really quick.
And we do love that. Like as an advisor, I love when we need to speak to the team because I know it's going to be quick, efficient, easy. An Australian is on the end of the phone, and just when you're in that emergency situation, you love that you can just, speak to someone from home.
Yeah.
It really is. It makes a big difference.
When you're calling, it's either a stressful situation or it could just be a curly question or a grey area around the policy, or you need to run a scenario by us, and we can help to, understand that PDS and put it in terms that can help you to understand what your coverage
insurance
is
language.
Exactly
we call it
right.
insurance language.
Insurance language. We'll put it into easy to understand insurance language.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the core things that set you guys apart. You are
that's
Australian owned and operated, and you are here in Brisbane.
And we can tailor make the policy to suit you. Like I mentioned before, like you can add and subtract those benefits to really suit you and your itinerary to make sure that you get the right cover. So if you're not hiring a car, you can remove that rental vehicle excess. So if you're cruising, you can add that on. If you're not cruising, you don't need to pay for it. If you're hiring a car, you've got that up to $10,000 rental vehicle excess there, but if you're not, you can take that off the policy. You can have your comprehensive plan there, or like I said, you can take all those benefits off and have medical and personal liability only policy if that's what you want.
Are there any unique features and benefits of cover options that GoInsurance offers?
Yeah, most definitely. So not only is our cruise cover award winning, we've won the CanStar Outstanding Value Award for 3 years in a row now. So
well
we
done.
have great value cruise cover. If you're skiing or snowboarding overseas as well, you only have to pay for your time on snow,
Yes,
not for the
whole duration.
You know, if you're only going to Japan for a month, and
you're only skiing for a week, you don't pay for the whole month.
Exactly right. It's just for that 1 week and not for the whole entire
we
month,
love that.
which is great.
Yeah.
So really bespoke benefits there. You know, we got, like I said, your customer service team and claims team in Brisbane, and then yourselves as advisors to help out if you ever need to make a claim or just get the right policy.
And how does GoInsurance approach customer service and claims support? I mean, from a travel advisor perspective, it's quite easy when it comes to claims. As far as the process goes, filling in those forms, getting all the information, as long as you have, our recommendation is always to ensure you have all the paperwork together, have it all ready to go and pop it all in at once.
Exactly
the turnaround time is really reasonable.
Yeah. So I agree with you. If you've got all the paperwork there, like I say to all my friends and family, whenever they're traveling, if anything happens, just get some documentation to
keep your receipts.
Keep your receipts, yeah.
Get an email from the airline, the cruise line.
You can see a doctor, get a letter from the doctor, if you're delayed, get a letter from the airline. Just that documentation to back it up. So it does make it a lot easier when it comes to claim time.
Yeah.
But we've got a great turnaround time with our claims team, so we like to get back to you as quickly as possible and get that solved and hopefully approved as quickly as possible. But any questions, like customer service and claims, are just a couple of minutes away in terms of like hold time for.
And obviously, if you've won those awards, you have to hit pretty high benchmarks when it comes to customer service levels.
And you're busy, and the customer needs help and support, so we want to try and help you out and get back to you as quickly as possible.
What type of traveller is GoInsurance best suited for?
Absolutely any traveller, Bill. Everyone needs insurance.
Everyone, anyone.
Exactly right. And like I said before, it's bespoke. It's tailor-made to suit your traveller. So no matter whether you're 18 or 84, our policies can be tailor-made to really suit you.
Situational.
The individual traveller, families,
where
kids
you're going.
Go free if they're travelling with their guardians. Where they're going. So I'm making sure they get that cover for that destination.
So everyone, pretty much. So everyone is your customer. Okay, what's your number one tip for someone buying travel insurance for the first time?
The first time, wow.
Do you remember the first time you purchased travel insurance? Yes, I do.
Wow.
It can be scary, daunting as a young first traveller.
So many out there, what to do, where to go. My biggest tip is factor it in and purchase it as early as possible to protect yourself for any of those incidentals and unforeseen events before you go, and to do it with an agent as well, because all these things we've just spoken about just now, you can make sure that are included on your policy when purchasing it, so you can remember to add on the extras, be it snow cover or cruise cover, and just to help with pre-existing medical conditions if it is a bit of a minefield. So
that would be my number one tip too. Purchase the travel insurance when you first purchase a holiday, secure that investment, but also see a travel advisor that is an expert in travel insurance, because they will really, again, tailor make that insurance to your needs to ensure that you are covered for what you need to be covered for.
Yeah, that good old saying, without
travel agent, you're on your own.
Yes.
And with that, we'll end today's session. Thank you so much, Dee, for coming along.
Thanks for having me.
We Love the product, so thank you so much for coming along.
Thanks for your support.